I'm so excited to talk with you today, Sarah. We have had quite the little history. Like, we got connected because you were looking for a referral partner here in the Bay Area a few years ago. I helped service one of your clients by selling their house. And like ever since, we've kind of gone back and forth with great referrals. And yet we've actually never met in person.
I know. I feel like I know you. Really.
I feel like I know you. Like, I really do. I feel like I totally know you. But I want you to just introduce yourself. Like, tell us who you are, where you are in business. Like, where are you in the U.S.? Oh, I see your kitty cat's coming. Let me see your kitty cat. Who's your kitty cat? What's your kitty cat's name?
Treasure. He'll probably be on my lap in a minute.
Oh my God, he's so cute. He's white and black. My favorite. Hi, Treasure. I love it. I love it. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Sarah Messali, and I'm in San Diego, California. And I pretty much grew up here. I've been here since I was like 3, so very long time. And I've been selling real estate for 13 years here, so very long time.
My God, I did not realize that you've been selling real estate for 13 years. That's incredible. Did you start when you were like 10?
No. College, basically, right? Wow. Right out of college, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm learning. Tell us more.
Oh gosh, what else can I say? So I've been through a whole lot of, when I first got started, I worked at kind of like a mom and pop real estate brokerage, just like 2 ladies and myself. And then I opened my own brokerage. I had that for a few years. I didn't love it. I love selling houses. I didn't love some of the things on the management side. We can get into that. Then I went to a brokerage with about 50 agents, and now I'm at EXP, which is, obviously the same company that you're at. And I really love it here. So I have a small team. I think you have one as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So that's kind of the transition of my career.
Okay. So, you've had a big career at such a young age. That's significant. Most realtors that I've spoken with, they've been in the game for like 30 plus years, or they're just starting out or have been in it like myself for, 5 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. But you have been in this for 13 years, right out of college, and you've even owned your own brokerage. How old were you when you were a broker and owned your own brokerage?
Well, I got my broker's license in 2012, and so I'd have to do the math. How old was I? Right, mid to late 20s is when I became a broker. So yeah.
Okay. And what inspired you to get your broker's license?
Well, interestingly enough, I'll be totally honest. I think a lot of us think that being a broker owner is very glamorous. And part of that is, like we see the TV shows, we see different people like, oh, I'm going to be like actually my own boss, right? Everybody, of course, in real estate, we're 1099s. We're not employees. Yep. So we're essentially our own boss, but everybody thinks, I'm going to expand this company. I'm going to have 100 agents and do this and that. And I had 6 agents. So it was relatively small, but still enough that it was very busy. And a lot of them were new. So I was spending a lot of time to train them, teach them everything, take them on my appointments, go on theirs to help them, all of that. So there is an element of both the kind of the glamour aspect, like I'm the owner, but also, the potential that I think people get into owning a brokerage for is that, oh, well, the more I grow this company, I will make a cut of all of the agents. And I do the work for it, right? I train them, I teach them, and then I get a split of that. But it's not as easy as people think. And that's why I really prefer the team model now. And I prefer EXP because there's no guarantee that those agents will necessarily succeed, even if you give them all of the tools and all of that. So I had ideas of it becoming a big company, and that's okay. You live and learn, and I'm really happy where I am now, but that's kind of why I went into it.
Yeah. How many agents did you have in your brokerage at your largest point?
Yeah, just 6. It was pretty small.
Okay. But 6 agents, to be responsible for 6 agents, especially under California laws, like that's really what's held me back from going out and getting my broker's license is I just honestly don't want to deal with the California laws and constraints. Like I've heard living in places like Texas, for example, like if you're going to go sell in Texas, you're going to want to get your broker's license just simply because it's very different and it's a little bit more manageable. But like our E&O, like for what we pay EXP, it's kind of silly. Like most people don't understand as a broker, you're paying 100,000 plus a year just to make sure that you're covered properly for insurance and whatnot, especially when you have other agents on your team, right? I mean,
right. That's a really good point. And then it's not even the money, it's the time aspect too. So I'm happy that I have my broker's license, right? So now I'm just considered a broker associate, realtor, we have a whole lot of titles, right? So same job position as you though, right? Occasionally there's a buyer or seller that goes, ooh, that's exciting. And they feel good about hiring, whatever. I mean, it's all kind of the same, right? But so I don't regret getting my broker's license, but being a broker owner is a very different thing. And for me, one of the drawbacks was the time aspect of having to do workers' comp audits. No claims, right? Still have to do an audit. Errors and omission audits, no issues. Still have to do that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of that is worse in California, like you said. But so I really prefer to put my time into the the income producing aspects of our business.
Yeah, no, that's great. So San Diego, such as the Bay Area, is very large. One of I think this is kind of one of your pet peeves too, because we've talked about this when I've sent referrals to the San Diego area. You're like, I don't help clients in that area, but I know somebody who does, right? And that's what people think outside of the Bay Area is like, oh, Olivia lives near San Francisco. We're going to send her a referral for, Tahoe. And it's like, oh, no, that's 4 hours away. Like that's a very different part of the area. So talk to me about where you are and where you conduct business with your team.
Yeah, like you said, San Diego's huge. If you were to drive from the south to the north, it's over an hour drive, right? And then of course you've got east and west as well. So I grew up in North County, San Diego. I still live in the North County, so most of my business tends to be in North County, San Diego. But even North County is big. You've got everything from inland, Escondido. A lot of my business is in Rancho Bernardo, Poway, Rancho Penasquito. So that's kind of the area where I grew up, went to school. And then coastal North County. So everything from, Carlsbad, Encinitas, Solana Beach, those are kind of all my primary areas. But because my business is all by referral, I do get some in central San Diego as well. But it's relatively rare that I go all the way to the South Bay. I certainly could. It's just not my specialty. And then because San Diego is so huge, there's a portion of that East County that is very rural. I hate that word. So rural. And that could take like 3 hours for me to even just drive there. So I don't serve like way East County. But so again, primarily from central, which would be kind of downtown San Diego, North Park, South Park, Mission Valley, all of that up into North County, which at the peak, the tip of North County would be Oceanside area.
That's awesome. So very widespread. I mean, you guys really do help a lot of different clients, but it is helpful to know exactly kind of where you are. So when we do have referrals, we can send you the right people.
Thank you.
So you've obviously been in real estate for a long time, not quite, but almost double the amount of time I've been in real estate. I've been in real estate for 8 years.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm a newbie. Do you kind of feel that way sometimes?
No, but I don't think you're a newbie either. And I think that the time it's not as important as people think it is. It really is not. I'm sure that you have experience with, every now and then you get on the phone with another agent on the, I don't want to say opposing side, right? Because we're all working on the same thing for the same goal. But I've been in the business 30 years and we never did a walkthrough and you're like, so being in the business 20 years or 30 years doesn't guarantee that somebody is good because maybe they sell one house a year.
Yeah.
And then there are people who've been in the business, 3 years. Now, certainly when you're brand new, you have to have a broker or a team or someone to help you. You're not going to be amazing right away. And that's normal. But let's say someone's been in the business 3 years. They might be crushing it, doing a ton of business. They might know their craft, their skills so well. So, like I said, brand new is one thing, but after that, it's not so much about years. It's experience is like number of transaction more so than years.
And I guess what I meant by I feel like a newbie is, oh, hi, Treasure.
I have my little guest anyway.
Oh my God, he's so cute.
Yeah.
What I meant by that is that I feel like every day I'm learning still, right? So, I mean, I've sold over 350 million in transactions and we've been doing this for 8 years, but as the market shifts and change, you learn and you grow. And every shift in the market is going to be different. So even if some people were here in, say, 2008, when everything happened then, that's going to feel different than this shift in the market, right? So they're learning and growing as well. And I think one of the things that really why I brought that up is even when we're in a career like this for so many years, it's always changing. We're always growing, right? And we're always continuing to learn. At least that's the way I feel. And I'm talking with my team kind of on a weekly basis about it because it's important for us to keep up, right? Like if we keep doing things we did 8 years ago, it's not going to work right now. And I think that, to your point, is kind of the fault of people who have been in the industry for, say, 30 years and only sell, say, 1 to 4 houses a year, and they're still doing things they did 20 or 30 years ago, and that doesn't work anymore, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, and I do love that about real estate. I would love to know, is real estate everything that you thought it would be when you started 13 years ago?
I mean,
yeah.
Sorry.
No. Yeah. I mean, I want to hear from you because, like I said, you have a long history already.
I didn't have expectations, and that sounds so silly.
Okay.
I think a lot of people getting into the market now do have expectations, and I think that almost could work against them because over the past 2 years, they have been, people come to in their mind, they think, oh, wow, you made a lot of money on this one sale, but they don't know necessarily the work that it put in or even the time that it took to nurture that lead. Like you might have been communicating with that particular client for 6 months or a year before you even went into escrow, right? But so I think people over the last couple of years, if they're just getting their license now, they need to be realistic because they're kind of trained to see people list a house and sell it within 1 day. But for me, it actually worked in my favor because I had no expectations going into it because I came from a very different career, which is basically as soon as I got my degree, I got a degree in nutrition. And even before I graduated, I was working in the hospital. Immediately upon graduating, I was working for the state government in nutrition while I was finishing up my classes to get my license. So shifting from nutrition to real estate was very different. And I really didn't know what to expect at all. And I originally got my license more so from the aspect of I knew I wanted to invest, and there are benefits, there are tax benefits if you are in real estate full time and you want to invest. Now, of course, selling full time is what I do now, but I knew nothing going into it, and I'm just like, let me explore this field. So
that's awesome. So, what have been some of your aha moments over the 13 years of being in real estate?
Good question. Well, I think one of the biggest aha moments is that it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to learn and redo things. And one of those examples would be, having a brokerage and then closing it. Closing it is not a failure. It doesn't mean I got out of business. It just means, I'm going to try something that's actually more profitable, that's, that can actually help more people. And then, like you said, learning all the time. I think there's an ego and there's a level of pride that we're almost trained to have when we're in real estate because we have to get used to talking about how great we are because that's how we compete. And if we don't talk about how great we are, how will buyers and sellers want to hire us as opposed to all the other agents? But even though we're trained to feel like, okay, we're so great, I sold this and I did this, and we're still learning and we still do make mistakes and things all the time. The contracts change multiple times a year, technology changes. So one of the ahas is you're never really done. You're never finished. You never get it done until we retire.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I've learned that really over the last couple of years of when I'm actually done is the choice I'm making of saying I'm done with selling real estate because I will never be done learning, right? I'm always learning, which is one of the things I think keeps me motivated. The client relationships, the learning aspect, the helping others in the industry. Because I don't know about you, but I really love it when I have somebody who's thinking about coming into real estate and they're like, hey, can I have 30 minutes of your time and just talk to you about your story and, your journey and kind of hearing what I have to say about it. Because it's important. I'm so raw and real that I'm really not everybody's cup of tea. And I always tell people that I'm not going to sugarcoat shit for you, right? It is this way and it may be a little bit different for you, but you have to understand this is not about sticking a for sale sign in somebody's front yard and selling a house. It's not going to magically sell. Like
Right.
this really does take time, and there's marketing skills, and there's a lot that goes into this beforehand. That is why so many people say, oh my gosh, you guys make so much money. Well, you guys have no idea how much time and effort we have to put into all of the work that we do for these clients, which I'm so grateful to have that business. But at the same time, people are very unrealistic. We don't get to sit down and drink coffee and then get a paycheck in 2 weeks.
Right.
Or have a paycheck rolling in every 2 weeks like most people. Like we have no idea sometimes when our next paycheck is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that was probably, I knew that going into real estate, that was a big aha moment for me though, as a newer agent 8 years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, it's been a month. And I am nurturing all of these people, but nobody's buying anything. And I'm scared to death. I have no idea when my next paycheck is coming.
Right. And the marketing costs too. I mean, you mentioned the time it takes to nurture, right? Yeah. But the cost associated with, and, I was speaking to a new agent yesterday who just got licensed, and he had, so innocent, right? And he had said, oh, wait, well, I have to pay for the MLS too. Like, we've got the board of realtors, we got this, we got that, we got that. That's not even marketing. That's for the privilege of being an agent, right? And we're talking many hundreds of dollars, depending thousands potentially, depending on where you are. And then you're trying to get your name out there and the efforts that it takes for that. So,
absolutely.
But I admire that you're open and that you're honest in that conversation. And honestly, it was, I wish someone would have been open to having that conversation with me 13 years ago, because I remember just calling people and saying, hey, can I job shadow you? Like almost like an intern, like I'll do work for free. But just please teach me, because I didn't know anything, please teach me. And I didn't start with a big company that has all this training like EXP has. I did not have a training library. And I would have loved for someone to, even if it was the hard truth, like to be able to give me the truth and say, well, here are some of the steps, here are some of the things you need to look out for, and here are some of the things you need to be prepared for. So I admire that you think you're not everybody's cup of tea. I don't know what's wrong with them if you aren't, but no, I really,
it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was another big aha moment too, right? Is so many people want to be everybody's agent. And, this is a relationship building business, right? So we always have to remind ourselves, if we're not a good fit for that client, then ultimately, even if they hire us, it's not going to work out well for the end result, right? And so this is about the relationship. This is about making sure that the client feels as if they're hiring somebody that is going to get them from A to Z in their real estate transaction. And, there's so much more than just the escrow process, right? There's all of it that happens beforehand for buyers and beforehand for sellers. And they have to trust us because we're their guide, right? So I truly believe that one of my biggest beliefs as an agent is that we are surrounded and we are brought the clients in which we are supposed to help. And during that process, sometimes we're presented with clients that are maybe a little bit challenging or have, just a different viewpoint or whatever that is. And if we don't end up working out, that's okay. It's a good learning lesson and a deep reflection on ourselves to say, what could we have done different or better? So when the next time we do have a client with a similar situation, we can either say, we're probably just not going to be a good fit, but I know somebody who will be a good fit for you. Or what could I have done different this last time and that I'm going to do different this time and try. So those have been a few of my aha moments throughout the year. I mean, like we've talked about, right? Like we're just constantly growing and changing and evolving and getting better and better and better for ourselves and for our clients, and just learning as much as we can in the industry, which is, I think, all that we can really do, right? Is just keep ourselves on our A game all the time. So I want to know from you, in your current business, what do you think sets you apart from your competitors? And I hate the word competitors, right?
Oh my gosh, I'm so
that. I'm like, God, I hate it. I hate that word. Ever since I came back to EXP, because this is my second time with EXP,
I love that. Okay.
I was with EXP a long time before this round, and it was before I was with another big brand, black and white themed. I won't name the name.
Yeah, I got you.
I think everybody knows. Before I was with that company, I was with EXP, and one of the things that really drew me to EXP the first time was that it was like a family. Like everybody was there to help support each other. And I never felt that in any other brokerage I have been with. And I've been with a couple of really big national names. And so I want to know what you think sets you apart from your real estate family, right? Because I hate the word competitors.
That's better, because I'm thinking, it's like, hey, I do want to answer your question, but also I agree with you completely. And even if you didn't say that, I was going to say something, because we are so true. I mean, that's just what people say. It's your competition. It's almost like we say that to our sellers when we're sitting down and we're looking at active properties, and this is your competition. This is what you're up against as far as bringing in the buyers. But I actually recently started a Facebook group that's agents helping agents and referrals, right? Because I agree with you. I think that even if we are in the same market, right? And you and I obviously are in different markets, but even if we're in the same market, there are so many homeowners that very rarely is any agent that going to be actual competition for a listing. And especially if most of our business comes from our sphere of influence, which it probably does for you as well. Yeah. The people that really like, know, and trust you, they're not going to feel the same way about other agents, and then vice versa, so and competition is an illusion. But that being said, what sets me apart, right? So a couple minutes ago, you were talking about different aspects of the business. And one of the things that I wanted to mention was that you talked about like the before, during, and after. And I really believe that pretty much anybody can show a house. That's the easiest part of the job. That's opening doors. And so it's sweet, because a lot of times I have clients that, I'll start showing houses. We'll find a house. We're like, okay, we're going to write an offer. And they'll be like, you've been so great so far. I'm like, no, I haven't done anything. The job has not begun yet. And so I think what sets me apart is the belief that the most important part of our job is being an expert in contracts, and then how to, number one, negotiate, and two, deliver that information to the client so that they understand exactly what's going to happen, what's happening, what's going to happen next, and so that they feel confident, they feel educated, they can make their own decisions, right? We're guiding them. We're not telling them what price they have to make an offer, because we're not paying that mortgage. We're guiding them as to, here's what I think is going to get accepted, and here's my best advice. And at the end of the day, it's them that are making those decisions. So for me, the key focus, even though showing houses is the fun and pretty part, it's not on that. It's on contracts, and then actually taking the time to explain those contracts to the clients, because that's also one of my biggest pet peeves in this industry, is that so many agents, whether they're representing a buyer or seller, they prepare the contracts. Sometimes they don't even know all of the details that are in them, because again, we're in California. That's a 10-page purchase contract. Yep. They just put it in DocuSign, and then they text their clients that says, sign this. They say, sign this, please. Right. And, the client, sometimes they trust this person. They go ahead and sign it, and they don't know, when are we actually closing? Did I get the washer and dryer, or did I not get the washer and dryer? And to me, that's malpractice, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, one of the things I started doing a long time ago when I first started getting into selling was, sitting down with a blank contract, like at the very beginning, right? And saying, here's a blank contract. I want you to review this, because it's going to come over DocuSign. And I want you to ask me any questions you have, right? Because we're probably not going to write on this for a few weeks, but I want you to really review this and take time to review it. I think just sending a DocuSign, like you said, I mean, it's really not doing anything good for the client. And I've had clients that have reviewed it, we've reviewed it together, and then they still get into escrow and they're like, hey, by the way, I didn't see the washer and dryer on the appraisal. Does that mean I'm not getting it? Like, no. Remember, that was in the contract that we signed, right? We went, oh, that's right. But there's so many steps. There's so much paperwork. And I think with the nerves and the rush sometimes of there's an offer date and we're trying to get everything going, last minute, because why is it, Sarah, in real estate? I don't know if it's for you, but as prepared as we are with our clients, it is like 11 p.m. every single time we need to get an offer submitted for the next day.
Oh my Goodness, and that's why it's so important that we have good vendors, right? Like good lenders that we're aligned with the good, the right type of people who will also work those ridiculous hours just like us, because it's always a Sunday night. It's always a Sunday night when we need an updated pre-approval.
Right. Absolutely. Who is your target audience right now in your career? Because I know it changes, right? Like we're always changing, like we talked about, but who's your target audience right now?
It's going to be pretty similar to my answer. Years ago, I did a thing on the radio and someone asked me that and they thought my answer was so funny that they ended up turning it into like part of their commercial or something because I said nice people and they thought that was so funny. And I'm like, no, I'm being so serious. You have no ideas. You can relate, I'm sure, being in the real estate industry, but quite literally, any budget, as long as it's something that is reasonable and we can actually find you a property, of course, because if you said, hey, San Diego, I want to buy a detached house for $100,000, it's just not doable. But if we have a budget that is doable, doesn't matter how low it is, to obviously doesn't matter how high it is, you need to be someone that is kind and a reasonable client. That's it. Other than, it's like I said, it's all by referral, and that makes it a little bit easier and more fun for me. Number one, there's the safety aspect of the fact that most people I'm working with, I know someone who knows them and it feels, warm and fuzzy, and there is not a lot of competition and they're already very kind and they know so-and-so had a good experience. So, beyond that, I don't get too specific in like, it has to be in this neighborhood. Every now and then I'll have someone that will say like, okay, we want to buy, but we need an expert in this neighborhood specifically. And while I respect that, and, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, look, I'm not working, 2 hours away. At the same time, I don't think you can be an expert in one tiny neighborhood specifically within one tiny, part of the county. Because if you do have a successful business that is built on referral, people are going to be moving out of that area and into the other. So I think more so the focus should be on the contracts and the client experience.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. That's really awesome. And I 100% agree with you that is really where my mind shift changed. I would say probably about 5 years ago is when I started to realize that, oh my gosh, I get to actually choose who I work with as well. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think so many agents forget that because they're so hungry for the next dollar. Where's the next piece of business going to come from? And so they are literally giving up so much of their own self-worth sometimes. Mm-hmm. They're giving up their commissions sometimes. They're giving up like a whole lot of stuff just to try and get that next piece of business. Whereas if we stop and we just realize, no, we deserve the best as well. And we deserve clients who are going to respect us and they're going to trust us. And they know that we are the experts and that's why they're hiring us. Right. Yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. I'm like, I just want kind clients. Yes. I just want people who are kind and respectful. And I don't care if they are on a year-long search. I will be on that year-long search with them, right? Mm-hmm. But just as long as there's mutual respect and trust and honesty, right?
Sometimes a please or a thank you goes a long way.
Oh my gosh.
I'm much more willing to work really long hours, late on a Sunday night or whatever. If someone just says, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. I'm like, oh, I'm there for that. I'm happy to help you. It's no problem. But I think also that's the sign of someone who is both mature and also successful like yourself, who knows that they don't have to take every single client, whether that person is rude or unreasonable or whatever. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make when they first get into the industry is they are so I guess fearful may be the right word. Where am I going to get my next paycheck? How are people going to find me? And so when someone finds them, whether it's someone who's, rude or quite frankly, there are a lot of scams out there, buyer scams or whatever, contact me on WhatsApp. And they're like, well, I think I'm going to try it. No, it's not real, but you have to be mature enough to turn down something that looks like or feels like business and to know what's right for you and what's not right for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've talked so much about your success over 13 years. I want you to share, if you are comfortable sharing, a little bit about how you juggle 13 years in the industry, the growth you've had in 13 years as a realtor, which is so amazing, Sarah. It really is. We haven't even talked about your 30 under 30, which is one of the things that has always been very inspiring for me when I look at you. But I want to hear about the mompreneur life because 13 years, I know you don't have a teenager. So you had children while you were growing a real estate business.
That's right.
And your children are how old? Do you mind sharing your children's ages?
Sure, no problem. 6 and 10.
6 and 10. And I am a mom of 2 young boys, as you know, and let's not sugarcoat it. It's hard, right?
Yes, it's hard.
It's hard. We're getting phone calls from clients that have urgent matters. We have children who are sick from school.
Yeah.
We have all of the sports, all the after school, all the weekend stuff. We don't get a break, right? As moms, what's our break? I think that's laughable. It's oh, you're going on vacation? No, we're taking a trip. The vacation is for the children. This is a trip.
Yeah,
when I go on vacation, it's me going on vacation by myself, right?
Exactly.
Without anybody.
Exactly.
So what have been your aha moments as a mompreneur? How do you juggle everything?
Well, I mean, I think as cheesy as it sounds, that it takes a village is totally accurate. And I'm a single parent, but even if you aren't a single parent, it does take a village. So whether that's a partner, family, the school, the after school program, friends, the neighbors. I have amazing neighbors that offer to watch my kids sometimes too. So you have to have your whole system set up. But I'll also say it's a lot easier the older they get. So my 10-year-old's pretty mature, and even my 6-year-old, is not so mature, but they are both aware, because we do have financial conversations, right? So there's obviously things that they want. They're kids, they want everything. So we have they know now, they're old enough to understand that how I succeed affects the experiences that they have in life. Are we going to go to Disneyland? Are we going to do this? Well, that depends. So when I have important calls, I mean, obviously they go to school and they go to after school care and things like that. But let's say it's an evening, because like you said, we are getting work calls at 9 p.m. So let's say, they're doing their homework, I'm helping them, and I got an important call. I just tell them right away, this is a work call. And luckily I'm at the age where they respect and understand that, because they know it affects the bottom line, if you will. And what's funny is more recently, they've actually started to know, even though they've never met my clients, because I don't bring them to appointments, they know by people's voices and everything. So the other day I was like, guys, just letting you know, we're doing this is totally fine. In about 10 minutes, I've got an important call. And they were like, oh, is it so-and-so? They named the clients. Oh man, you've been talking to that one a lot, it's so-and-so. So that's pretty funny. But, so really it's getting them on a team with me, if that makes sense, getting them excited about my goals, telling them, hey, I sold a house today. They get excited about that, because it's not so just kind of arbitrary. It's very concrete at this age. Hey, mom's succeeding. We got this house, mom got a new car, or whatever it is. And I don't mean it to be all materialistic. Unfortunately, that's kind of what they can most grasp right now. But it helps getting them excited about me succeeding.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think it's brilliant that you're involving them in that conversation at such a young age, right? I mean, my mom was a single mom, and a very young single mom. And I remember answering phone. She was a property manager of over 300 apartment units when I was growing up. And at the young age of 8 years old, she'd be like, okay, do you want that, doll you saw at the store? If you do, then I need you to sit here and stuff all these envelopes. She taught me how to answer the phone, for a property management company, at a very young age. I was taking messages for her, and I was her little sidekick helper, right? But that's that's the foundation that was built for me. And although it was kind of a rocky and very, unconventional childhood, I learned so much by that. And at 14 years old, started working 25 hours minimum a week as a receptionist at a hair salon. And I've never stopped. I mean, I've literally always worked my entire life pretty much. So I think it's brilliant that you're involving him in those conversations. I've started to try and have those conversations with Lucas, who's 4.5. It's not quite there, right?
Yeah.
He's still in the conversation that money just falls from the sky and he can get whatever he wants. And Disneyland is, not $3,000 to go for 2 days. So he's like, when are we going to Disneyland next? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I need to have the conversation of the next time that mommy says I have a work call, you need to be quiet and not try and get my attention and be a complete pill. So I just want to talk a little bit more about your success. Tell us about your 30 under 30 and tell us where you are in your career and what your goals are over the next, say, 5 years.
Okay, yeah. So we have to say alumni at this point because I'm so over 30 that I actually had someone make fun of me on my TikTok the other day because it's like on my bio, it's on like the list of accomplishments. They're like, you're clearly not 30. I'm like, accurate.
Oh, man. Well, hey, you know what? I say any hater on social media at this point is a good thing. It means that you are getting people to acknowledge your social media. So
True.
Hate away.
Funny. I think, I wasn't trying to pretend that I'm under 30, but yeah, so I'm alumni. Hey, but it's cool that there's still involvement for people like myself. So 30 under 30, I had won it in 2016. And it's cool because they do a reunion. There's not that, it's, obviously through the National Association of Realtors, there are not that many people that have ever won the award. So
amazing.
I think it's a handful, maybe 500 total ever, something like that. But anyway, they do an event once a year. There's a Facebook group, there's referrals, there's tips, people are sharing their listing presentations, things like that. So that is pretty cool. I had actually applied 3 years in a row, and I finally won on the year where I was 29. So that's exciting. So that's a lesson. And like, I'll tell people apply. Like, and a lot of the real estate awards out there, at least the legitimate ones, because there's a lot of fake ones. A lot of the real ones, you have to qualify for and have great stats, but you also have to apply. There's so many hundreds of thousands of agents that they don't just randomly find people. So if you want something, you do have to put yourself out there too. But yeah, and that was back when I owned the brokerage. And so I would say, we all have our goals as far as numbers and things like that. But my biggest goal right now is not the, volume, the transaction volume number. It's actually a bigger goal about expanding my team. And that is important to me because one of the biggest things that I'm thinking about now constantly, and it is actually something that I have bring my children on this conversation. And I struggle to say, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't say the exact numbers, right? But passive income is really important to me right now because that is what's going to, eventually cause us to retire. And look, I love this job and I'm not interested in quitting tomorrow or anything like that, but we don't get a retirement plan. We're not just live in a pension or whatever. So we have to set up our retirement. So my biggest goal is surrounding how much passive income do I need to accrue? How do I get it? What are the different methods? And then, so that down the road, we can be set up for retirement. And how do I get that? Well, one of the ways is by expanding my team. So that's really what's like top of mind right now.
Okay. And so talk to me a little bit more about that because that's really directly involved with EXP. And I will be really honest with you, Sarah, that is one thing I haven't even tapped into. So I would love to hear like your top 3 tips for anybody who may be thinking about getting into EXP or perhaps are already in EXP and not tapping into that as well.
Yeah. Well, so I'm in my just beginning of my 3rd year at EXP, and I have only in the past 2-3 months started to realize the opportunity with this company. Like, oh man, I wish I would have thought about it 2 years ago. But I think the frustrating thing is that there are so many people that get into this business or this company for the sole intention of recruiting, not having anything to do with selling, and then doing this very high pressure recruiting. And it's the exact same reason that people as a whole, not all people, many people don't like real estate agents. Why? Because they're getting strange calls. They're getting calls all the time. They're getting calls after someone passed away. Like, it's ridiculous, right? And obviously you and I are not like that. We are the best type of real estate agents. But it's the exact same thing with people who are very heavy into recruiting. So, even years ago, I was getting Facebook messages from people at EXP that I hadn't talked to in years. And all it's so formulaic. It's like, hey girl, so I was, and it's like, you don't care about me, So, but once you find a tribe of people that actually do care about you, I've realized that bringing people into the company, if you even so choose to participate in that at all, because I wasn't doing that for the longest time, I was just focusing on sales. Well, now I'm looking at it more from the perspective of attracting agents if they want to join this team, right, throughout the United States, as opposed to recruiting or soliciting anybody. But people are wanting to come to my team, to other people's teams, because they're seeing the value in it. And so you have to add value to other people for them to want to join, for them to want to work with you in any capacity, whether that's my local team and actually me like physically training agents here or nationally through EXP. You have to provide, why would they work with you? Well, what do I have to offer? 13 years of experience, sales advice on how to succeed. So, it's been more so me shifting to creating systems, whether that's a training library, different things like that, that are of benefit to other people, so that it is not a cold, like, hey, why don't you just sign up under me and then I'll never talk to you again, but so that it's actually a tribe. It's actually a community of people that are like, I want to stick around because now I'm actually more successful because I'm a part of this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll be totally honest, as I always am, but with the first time I joined EXP, was back in late 2017. Wow. And I joined with somebody who was strictly recruiting. Like they really weren't in it for real estate sales. And it was the biggest turnoff for me at that time. I really needed to make a move, and my choice was EXP or this other national black and white brand. Yeah. And at that point, I was really pregnant with Lucas, and I was like, I don't want to do a startup because they wanted me to open an office here. And so I chose EXP. It was really good for me because I was already kind of a solo agent on my own, not needing the training in office, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, there was no big shift except for the branding. What I did love about it is what we have today, which is I was able to promote my own brand, my name, everything, and not have the restrictions as some of these other companies. But I didn't love the hard recruitments. I didn't love the fact that so many people looked at EXP as this is a company full of people that are like sharks just trying to recruit people and not actually selling real estate. So when I left after being with them for about a year and a half and went over to this other big brand, when I came back, it was simply because somebody I had known 8 years ago, their brokerage had closed down in San Francisco, and he started with EXP, and he had a choice of every brokerage in the Bay Area. He interviewed over 26 brokerages when he was actually interviewing when their brokerage shut down. Wow. And he chose EXP, and it was this really big news here because he was somebody that a lot of people looked at. And I called him and I said, why in the world did you choose EXP? And he said, because the sky's the limit. And he goes, why aren't you choosing EXP? And I said, well, I was actually with them. And he goes, well, why did you leave? And I explained my reasoning. And he goes, Olivia, I want you to stop and think about it like this. And when he said this, I was like, oh my gosh, it was like a light bulb went off, right? He goes, every person that is in these big national brand offices, they have somebody that's getting paid a salary plus bonuses to go out and recruit agents, right? And I went, oh yeah, good point. And he goes, well, basically, EXP is saying, if you want to do that, we will reward you, right? And when he said that, I said, that's true, right? So all these other big brands, they're doing the same thing. It's just there's one person doing it. Right. And that is their sole job versus EXP. We want to grow as a family, as a team, and there's going to be some people that are there solely for recruiting, and then there's going to be others like you and I who are here to sell real estate and help people sell real estate or buy real estate, right? And so that was my big aha moment of shift. And when I came back to EXP, I was like, this is it. Like, I'm really never changing again. I'm so done going back and forth. And I had my reasons for going and trying other brands, but I really do believe in this company. And I think there are so many things that I have yet to even scratch the surface of the capabilities that they are giving us as agents. And I think a lot of us get really busy selling real estate and forget to go back and be like, what are all of the new trainings that we're missing? Or, what could our team what could our team tap into for the trainings? Or what are the brokers talking about this week? I mean, I will tell you, I don't know the last time I actually went to one of the trainings with EXP simply because we're so busy in our day-to-day lives with our business. Right. But they give so much value. And then you have this recruitment. So besides the EXP and recruiting and building a team, what else are you doing? Are you doing investments?
My goal, I'm really interested. So I only purchased this property that I'm living in now. I purchased it a year ago, and I've owned 5 properties in San Diego over, my life. But, the most recent was this one. So my goal is to purchase an Airbnb within 12 months. And so I'm looking at, opportunities and where and things like that. So, I have stocks, different things like that, but of course, being in real estate, I believe in real estate. I think there are so many different ways to invest that it's insane. So one of the things that I have set up is a solo 401k, right? Even besides the stocks that we can get at EXP, as agents, we can have our own solo 401k.
That's right.
So, I put money into that. That's diversified. I'm very interested in purchasing seller finance notes in my 401k. I own shares of I'm a shareholder, I guess, in a media company. So I'm kind of like very diversified, but I think my next thing that I'm very interested in is my first Airbnb. I've never done that.
Okay. So you and I need to talk offline, because my goal on my vision board, and I'm trying to check off my vision board, it's September 21st. I don't have very long until December 31st.
Yeah.
But I've had a goal when I turned 40. So I turned 40 in May this year.
No, you did not.
I did. I did. And my goal is a minimum of one investment property per year, one investment property per year for the next 10 years. So by the time I'm 50, I have a minimum of 10 investment properties. So I would love to talk more with you about where you're looking, and talk with you about what I've learned as well, because I think there's so much opportunity. And sometimes it takes 2 power kick-ass mompreneurs to come together and be like, hey, maybe we do this together as a partner and learn what we need to learn out of this first investment, right? And then be able to leverage our money into doing our own solo Airbnbs, because it's a new world. I don't know how it is for you, but I'm scared shitless. Like, now that it's my money going into an Airbnb investment, I'm like, oh my God, this is really scary.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of us in real estate are, we're trained to be so scared because you hear these horror stories of people who got at the height of the market in 2006 or whatever. And it's like, look, it's not actually like that. Things are very different now. But if it's a big investment, buying a house, and especially if you're buying it by yourself, is a big investment. But I would love to talk more with you offline about that, because the other thing is like, look, when it comes to investing, we may want to live in California. We may love that, but we don't have to put all of our money in California. And there are still good investments to be found here. But especially as a first, like, I've been looking at a couple of markets where there are cash flowing properties for like $115,000. It is insane. So, that is a much easier start than price points where you and I live, where you got to have a minimum of $1 million to get into a so house.
Right. A fixer, right? I mean, my clients here, unfortunately, can't break ground with $1 million for a single family. And so, we're talking condos. We might get a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo if we're lucky in a good neighborhood for $1 million. But I mean, that's the reality of our market. And even with the softening and the shift, you're still having to get into that 1.3 for a fixer single family and a East Side 101 freeway neighborhood, which is not bad. I live East Side 101. I love it. I'm all for it. You build equity a whole lot faster, let me tell you. But I agree with you completely. Sarah, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show and for telling us all about your success, your family, how you are doing all of this, being a mom of 2 children and a single mom at that, which is amazing. What is maybe 1 or 2 pieces of advice you would give a woman that's standing on the sidelines saying, I just can't make the move. I can't leave my corporate job to get into real estate, but it's really where my heart is, or to start any business as a mom of children?
That's a great question. And thank you for having me, by the way. This is awesome. But I think one thing that I would say, even though I didn't start part-time, is, everybody likes to shame part-time agents, but I think it is okay to start part-time if you're aligning yourself with the right people and a team or a mentor or someone like that who can help you fill in the gaps, because real estate takes a while when you're learning something, when you're brand new. And the reality is, we'd love to look at it with rose-colored glasses, but there are many people, especially if they're moms, moms, right? That can't just go from having a good income to having no guaranteed income for God knows how long. So it's okay to get your license, to start part-time, and eventually get to the point where you're like, I know what I'm doing now. I can quit, right? You don't have to, take a leap that could potentially wind you in hot water. You can take your time with things. And then the other thing I would say take your time with is choosing who you work with. And that really goes back to what you were saying about how you were with EXP before, and then that wasn't the best fit because of the people that you were aligned with at the time. Yeah. So, people, when they are thinking about getting licensed, they literally ask me the same question so frequently. They're like, well, do you think this company will hire me? What about this company? They're all going to hire you. It doesn't work that way. No, like you are interviewing them. You're deciding which brokerage you want to work for. Okay. Right. Every single one's going to hire you. So it's a matter of don't just rush to the first brokerage because you saw, that they happen to have an office there. It doesn't matter which one is going to benefit you most in terms of getting you to your goals, in terms of, training, what is the best financial decisions. Really take your time to make those decisions.
Absolutely. Such great advice. And you're such an inspiration. And thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today. Anybody who's looking to move to San Diego or lives in San Diego and looking to buy or sell a property, Sarah really is your go-to. I have referred her a ton of business over the last few years, and every single client that I have referred to her has had just stellar feedback about her services and who she is. So if you'd like more information, feel free to reach out to either one of us. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next show. Sarah, have a wonderful rest of your week in sunny Southern California.
Thank you. Too. You're awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.